All right. So today we have a question from a client that asks, why do I have knee pain when I walk or run, and how can posture alignment help?
So, your knees are very affected by the joints above and below. So, how you're loading your foot, number one. So, for example, if you're somebody that maybe has a really weak glute line and your ankles roll in or pronate, you see how when I'm what I'm doing is I'm rolling my ankles in, but my knees kind of go
Mm.
automatically. So that pulls long in here and it shortens out here. And you're also just getting your hip, knee, and ankle out of alignment. So anytime you don't have a nice straight line, there's opportunity for pain and misloading. And the same if you're here, if you have maybe super tight hips and you're kind of walking like this all the time, you're really stuck in dorsiflexion. So your shin muscles are going to be overworking. Um, and that's going to cause knee pain. So look at your ankles, look at your hips, and chances are, if there's something going on in one of those joints, that is definitely affecting your knee.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And one way people can do it is if you have a full length mirror, that you can look at walking towards, or set up your, phone and can record yourself walking. Then you can look as you take step or steps, whether it's walking or running, and then just gauge, like Carrie I'm saying, like gauge where your knee is pointing when you load, especially upon that initial contact of your heel or foot to the floor. Then does your knee cave in? So knee valgus or valgus stress, knock knees. Does it bow out excessively? Does your knee point in? So does it like cave in, like the kneecap itself actually turn in, or does it stay out the whole time? Because that though all those things can set up problems for the knee. And just do if you do a quick search on Google and you say, what causes knee pain, if you look on like Mayo Clinic site, for instance, it's going to say, well, arthritis or osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or gout or injuries. So, ACL or MCL or all these, like, or loose bodies. All those things, while they call them causes of knee pain, sure, but usually those things are after the alignment or after some, mechanism of injury. And so when like, with, again, going back to what Carrie and talking about, like, we're talking about the kinetic chain of the body and how the parts are supposed to work in unison. So that foot and ankle position is so critical to set up the knee to hinge as it's supposed to, because it's basically a hinge joint, with minor rotational and other movements. And then the hip above it, if the hip isn't doing its job, then that's going to create issues too. So when you look online, be careful, because then you're just looking for a maybe already specified problem as the cause of the pain. And then, of course, then the ultimate solution then would be like, oh, okay, well, let's do surgery and fix the blah, blah, blah. But did we fix the problem that set us up for that in the first place? Meaning, like, the things that Carrie Ann was talking about posturally.
Yeah, so I guess like as a test, like you could record yourself, but even just if you stand up right now and like watch yourself, an easy way is just like marching in place. So if I'm standing here, like when I lift my knees in front of me, are they pulling in front or am I walking like like this, where one knee is coming out, or the opposite way where I'm kind of pulling forward? So, and even when I'm lifting forward, like not just the lower half of my body, am I tilting? I feel like I look really funny on camera right now. Or am I doing something else with my body that I'm not really aware of? So yes, so I mean all of these ways, and this is just with supposed hip flexion of pulling in front, but there's all these other ways of movement. Am I walking and swinging in? So if I'm walking, am I swinging in? I see a lot of that, like saloon door walks, where people will walk and they'll walk and you just see this, I'm exaggerating, of course, this knee kind of flipping out and in, just like a saloon door. Or like, okay, I'll walk forward, or just a big swing out. So I definitely think recording yourself helps, but even if you're just standing in place, you can look and see, like, just for me standing here, is one knee pulling out? Is it pulling in? Do I feel myself falling one direction or the other? Or do I notice, yeah, that twist and rotation? Every time I lift my left knee, my whole body like caves and pulls one way or the other.
Yeah, totally. And it's all about momentum. So, we describe walking. So since we're talking about walking and running as it relates to knee pain, then, walking is basically controlled falling, right? So there's just this momentum play. But then when you're trying to generate more speed, like running, or if you're going uphill, for instance, then now you're going to have to generate more forward momentum. So that's where that like rotation comes in, or excessive arm swing, or the flexion of the trunk, or some other mechanism to try to do that. And if the hip's not working, like Kim's saying, then yeah, we're trying to like create hip flexion. So that's the swing phase. Whereas like before with Karen, we're describing more like the loading phase of what's going on. So that's great, Kim, to bring that together. And body basically works in hinges when we're walking and running. So there's too much like side to side movement, like you're describing, if there's too much rotation, if there's too much in or outward movement, if we're on a really narrow stance, all those things can be signs of sort of postural dysfunction.
When you hit the pavement, immediately, like there's a reaction that travels up your body. And if you're in improper alignment when your foot hits the pavement, like if you're way, way too forward, all the weight is on your distal quad, and like your glute isn't going to help you at all. And your glute should be helping you move through space. So just setting up your entire carriage so that when that bottom, the force reaction goes through your body, it goes to all the right parts and everything lights up, right? It should be like a pinball machine where it goes boom, 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 and all the right things light up, and then you just get speed and you're able to go really fast. And but if one thing is off, then you go down the hole and game over, lose a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, like the sort of video game or arcade game analogy. It's one of those things too where the argument of like, oh, running's bad for your knees. Well, it's been disputed and sort of debunked to the idea that like running is actually good for your knees, but it can be if your posture is off, your alignment's off, then and where walking or running creates a knee problem is because yeah, we're working in this very inefficient, misaligned, poor posture manner where the parts of the body again aren't working together. And that also brings up the idea, like sometimes we'll see people who have or maybe they're getting headaches, from running. And it's like, well, why? I don't understand why I get headaches or whatnot. And yeah, it could be the compensation, the shoulders and into their traps and everything tightening up. But it's also that, like what you're talking about, like the, ding, ding, ding up the line. Like what I think of that is like the cushioning, and the ability to transmit forces evenly up through the body. So as the foot strikes, then the forces, some move into the foot, but most of it goes up the body through, through the shin bone into the knee. And then that should disperse through the long bone of the thigh into the hip, and then disperse through the muscles and into the pelvis, and then up the spine, and all those shock absorbers that we have along the spine. And if we're getting headaches running or walking, then it's like none of that's really working because we're way too tight, we're way out of alignment, or we're just, things aren't moving as fluidly or as in good functional movement that they should be.
So watch yourself walk. See how your foot lands, see how your hip lands, look at your knee, and chances are you'll find the clue to what is wrong. And then you can ask one of us and we can tell you how to fix it, what needs to change.